Hello there. My name's Kenneth Strickland. I'll be your instructor for this semester of Intro to American Government, Political Science 120. It's a pleasure to have you with us this semester. For most of you, it'll probably be the first time you've had a course with me. There may be one or two who took my international relations course previously, for which you may, get tired of the same jokes over and over again. But welcome, regardless here. Great to have you with us. I'm going to talk a little bit about in this video the course. I'll give you an introduction, high level, to kind of how this course is organized. I'll actually go through the syllabus. That'll be most of this video here. So I want you to go through that. At some point during this video, I'll provide you with a code word. You'll use that code word to get attendance credit to verify that you have watched this video and gone through the syllabus with me. I'll talk to you a little bit about myself, sort of my background in political science and professional background and kind of how it relates, because I think that will probably give you some context into a lot of sort of where I come from when I'm presenting information and ideas this semester here. But to get started here, so this is what we refer to as a survey course in American government. And so by survey course, what I mean there is that we're going to cover a lot of different subjects at a very kind of high level. Each and every one of these subjects that we talk about over the course of the semester could be a course in and of itself. In fact, I had separate graduate classes in most of the subjects that we're going to talk about, many years ago. So I'll talk to you a little bit about that when I go through my personal experiences. This is an online asynchronous class. It's going to be structured based on weekly modules. And so each week you'll have a new module that opens up to you. There will be videos for you to view. There'll be assignments, readings, that sort of thing. But you'll be able to do all of it for the most part on your own time, and whenever you want to through your computer. You will never have to come in person, or you shouldn't have to come in person to a Wake Tech campus. Funny enough, this is my second year of teaching at Wake Tech. I've still never actually been on a Wake Tech campus at all. So, that's kind of sign of the times, if you will, here. This course in American government, look, this is a fun subject to teach because the subject is very contentious, right? We have, particularly in this day and age, a lot of opinions and thoughts and very passionate opinions about American government. But you got to understand that, this isn't a course where we're just going to talk about current events and what we think and feel about certain issues. This is, we're going to approach this from the perspective of political scientists. And that was what my training was in political science. And in that way, we kind of view our political environment and political actors sort of like a lab scientist might observe rats running through a maze, if you will. That'll make a lot more sense as we go through this course. But I want you to understand that our goals here are to study the institutions and behaviors that emerge from American government from a very sort of objective perspective there. This class is sort of divided into two halves, really. The first half covers institutions. So we're going to start off with some of the very sort of early ideas that sort of formulated American government. In fact, we're going to go way back. And the first lecture that you have next week is going to be kind of concern some of the early Greek political thoughts that largely sort of motivated subsequent philosophers, that then in turn motivated the founders of our system of government, the framers of the Constitution. There's actually a pretty direct line you can draw between some of these early thoughts and the Constitution and the institutions that it created. So then we're going to transition to talking about, like I said, about the Bill of Rights and Constitution. Before that, we'll talk about this concept of federalism and how our government works. We're going to talk about the institutions it produces, such as the court system, our legislative system, the presidency, the executive office there. In the second half of the course, we're going to shift more to actors and behaviors there, right? We'll talk about political parties. We'll talk about the role of public opinion in American government, media, those sorts of things. And then we'll sort of finish up the class talking about kind of the outcomes. What are the policy outcomes that emerge from this whole string of sort of history of, ideas and institutions and individual actors and behaviors. And that hopefully by the end should wrap it up in a pretty, tight little package of this is our system of government and this is how it operates. And hopefully my goal is that you leave this course with kind of a foundational understanding of sort of how we get the results that we do based on the institutions we have and sort of what guided those processes. So Hopefully by the end of the class, that's that's what you leave with here. So I've talked a little bit about structure of class. When we go through the syllabus, I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Let me give you a little background about me. So I live in Cary, North Carolina. Here, I moved here in 2019. Going even further back, so I grew up in Texas. I'm from the Dallas area originally. I went to college at Texas Tech University. If you're familiar with them, maybe you are. If you're an NC State football fan, I was there to see NC State thump them pretty good this past fall. That's where I studied. I double majored in political science and sociology. I went straight from there to a graduate program, PhD program in political science at the Ohio State University. So I was there for 2.5 years. Studied American politics, specifically public opinion, voting behavior, and actually most of my coursework was in research statistics, which is kind of why I sort of got into the field that I ended up going into. Spent long enough in grad school to realize that I didn't want to be a political scientist. I loved the research, but I was more interested in sort of doing things that would have a more sort of tangible kind of effect on the world. And so I met my now wife then, who was in law school at Ohio State. She had a job opportunity in Tampa. So it was December in Columbus, Ohio. So I said, yeah, we're going to move to Tampa. Um, that was great. Was there in the Tampa market for 15 years. Actually, spent a little bit of time actually high school teaching right when I got out of grad school, but then ended up going into consumer market research. So this would have been 2005, six time period or so. What had happened at this time period was that some online surveys had become a thing. And so companies were actually large companies were looking for people who had training in how to develop surveys. Well, it turns out that in my political science education, particularly in graduate school, a lot of the focus and emphasis on my studies was in writing and analyzing data from surveys, because it's actually quite a science to it. People are always amazed. I had one graduate course on survey research design with a guy named John Krosnick, who is arguably the world's leading expert on writing surveys. The entire course, there was only one grade, which was a survey at the end of the class that you had to critique, and that was your final course grade there. So, anyways, I ended up that created a 10-year career in consumer market research. I worked across nearly every consumer industry. I was a consultant to Caesars Entertainment, the casino chain, Norwegian Cruise Lines, numerous restaurants, retail, consumer packaged good companies. I was in-house with Home Shopping Network actually for 3 years. I was on their consumer insights team. And what's really cool is I tell people, because my mom said, what are you going to do with a graduate degree, a master's degree in political science? Well, it turns out that there were a lot of corollaries to work that was being done in consumer market research, and so carved out a pretty cool career doing that. After about 10 years, so this was 2013, I saw a job posting for the Tampa International Airport. They were looking for somebody to start an in-house market research team. So it ended up combining two of my loves. So I've always had a love of aviation. In fact, I've been flying since I was 16. I'm a commercially licensed pilot, although I don't, I don't get paid to fly. I just fly for fun and to fly my family around. But so it was kind of a dream opportunity there, and so that led me into the airport management world. So I was at Tampa International for 6 years, and then ended up taking a job opportunity at Raleigh Durham International. Was at RDU for about 2.5 years. Wasn't a good fit for me organizationally, but I love the industry. So earlier this year, I joined a consultancy. So now I do what's known as air service development. So I actually work on behalf of airports to recruit or try and convince airlines to fly to their market. So for instance, the last thing I did when I was at RDU was brought Iceland Air in. I had brought them actually into Tampa before too, so I had a good relationship. So I'm kind of a sales guy for airports, but so much of that conversation is actually driven by data and forecast modeling. So I only say all that to say that you can kind of see where my political science education sort of took me. And although I don't work in politics, I'm very grateful and dependent upon that education I received because it got me into market research and got me into the work that I'm doing now. So I work from home. I work remote. My company is actually based in Springfield, Illinois, but my team of 4 we're spread across the United States, and like I said, we work with airports across the country. You'll probably notice over the course of the semester, I'll be filming these videos from various spots because I do travel quite frequently with my job. So I may be in airports and lounges and hotels. We'll just see all the wonderful places I'll go over this semester here. Like I mentioned, I live in Cary with my wife. We have twin 10-year-old boys, which is something else. You'll probably hear them in the background many times. Between them, a dog, 2 dogs, and a cat. There's always noise to be had there. So that's enough. Look, you'll hear plenty about me and my weird sort of thoughts and ideas on things. But hopefully, at the end of this course, I've made it sort of a comfortable environment for you to learn. We'll talk about all this sort of when we get into the syllabus. So I'm actually going to attempt to share my screen and hope that it's the syllabus that pops up and not something else here. So give me 1 second. You would think that I would be better at doing this, given as much as I do this. That is not the page I want. I want this one. Let me see how I can get it to get up. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully that works. And you can see the syllabus here. So I'm going to go through the syllabus here. Just follow along with me. If you want to open that file, you can. So starting off here at the top, section 1, you see my contact information there. Look, like I said, I've never been on I don't have an office at Wake Tech. I've never been to Wake Tech or a physical location there, but I'm always available via Microsoft Teams to chat. So, that kind of works out better for you. I don't have designated office hours, but if you just reach out to me, I'm certainly happy to connect with you. Online or email rather is going to be the best way to get in touch with me at any point. So feel free to email me with any questions, thoughts, or ideas. If I don't get back to you right away, if it's more than like 24 hours, feel free to ping me again. You're not going to bother me. Like, just keep pinging me because different things come up and I'll be on the road. So it's always good to sort of get a reminder there. So feel free to do that. So in that opening paragraph there, just welcome you into the course. I think I've covered most of this here. Obviously, this course is being carried out via Blackboard, so you'll need to check in at least a couple times a week. So I'll use the announcements function of Blackboard to post relevant announcements. If something's like super urgent, I'll usually do that plus send an email. So the system allows me to send an email course-wide. So I would say check your Wake Tech email periodically as well. So let's go through the policies here. So attendance. So this class, like I said, is online, semi-asynchronous. You should probably never, ever actually physically see me. Although one of my students last semester was one of the counselors at Triangle Rock Club, where my kid does a rock climbing camp, and so that was a little weird, but got to meet her. No, it was completely fine here. So how do I know that you're sort of engaging in the course material? Well, as I alluded to before, I use these code words, and so I'll have each week you'll have a lecture. It'll be me going through a series of PowerPoint slides related to the course content there. At some point during that presentation, I will provide you with a code word, and then you will have an assignment opportunity to submit that code word, and that'll count as your assignment credit. Easy enough. So I want to encourage you to watch those videos. The lecture videos will be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how rambly I am on that given subject there. But obviously you can watch them whenever you want. You'll have access to them. The sooner the better. But just make sure you record that code word. I'll make it pretty explicit in each of those. I think I have here that attendance is 10% of the grade, but it's actually 15. I changed that. Made some changes since last semester here, so I'll go back and edit that in the syllabus here. I mentioned the course uses Blackboard, so you'll want to access that platform, like I said, several times a week. If you're new to Blackboard or you need help, just let me know. There's resources available to you there. You'll be submitting your assignments through there. Everything will be done through Blackboard, essentially, with the exception of contact with me, which you can email me directly. You have my address there, or I think it gives you the option in Blackboard too. Speaking of email, I said, you're encouraged to, reach out to me. Like I said, just know you're never going to bother me. I get paid next to nothing. I don't do this for the money. I do it because I enjoy it. But nonetheless, you or somebody who loves you or the state, somebody's paying for you to take this class. And so, you certainly should expect responsiveness from me. So if I don't get back to you right away, feel free to just send me another email just to remind me there, so we get in touch. Obviously, if something's urgent, just use the urgent text in the email subject there. I mentioned office hours video conferencing. Like I said, if you want to chat, and this happens, semi periodically each semester, there that the student has a reason that they want to talk to me in person, we'll set up a Microsoft Teams, and I'm pretty flexible on time and stuff. So understanding that several of you guys work or you have other classes and that sort of thing, I'm free to work around that. I'm usually a pretty early riser, so I would even, as early as 6 a.m. could potentially meet with you, as long as I've had some coffee by then. Let's talk about online interaction here. So this is an online course. It's going to require students to engage in dialogue and discussions to some extent with classmates, and obviously myself. Given the subject matter of this course, look, it's nobody's going to get very passionate about a math problem, but issues related to politics. I mean, politics is essentially the conflict that's created by limited resources and sort of trying to determine who gets those resources. So it's sort of inherently ripe with conflict. So that being said, we want to be respectful of other people's perspectives and ideas. And I encourage you to have contrarian attitudes and opinions and beliefs there. There's a way we can disagree, respectfully. I could tell you, dozens of sessions of marriage counseling have taught me that it can be done. I've laid out some criteria for online discussions and engagement here. Look, this generally isn't a problem, but it's probably good for all of us, myself included, just to review these here. So be respectful in tone and content. Refrain from what I call acquiescence. So that would be simply agreeing with somebody just because you want to keep the peace. That's not what this is about. Everybody's perspectives and ideas are sort of valued here. Acknowledge and respect diversity of all perspectives. And so, one of my criticisms of sort of our current, our contemporary sort of understanding of diversity is that it's very limited. We think about diversity in terms of race or gender, but it's really multi-dimensional, right? I've been teaching this course for almost 2 decades, strangely enough, which makes me feel really old. I started teaching American government when I was a graduate teaching assistant at Ohio State at the age of 21, and have taught at various colleges. I taught at, like I said, Ohio State when I was there, taught at St. Petersburg College in Florida, taught at Hillsborough Community College, Columbus State Community College in Columbus, Ohio. And then, like I said, I'm relatively new to Wake Tech, but I've been doing this and teaching it online for a while too. That being said, it's pretty amazing of the probably thousands of students I've had over that time. I've had, a lot of veteran students, for instance, and we don't think about them in conversations about diversity, but their perspectives are different. Non-traditional students, adults who've been in the labor force and come back. I mean, their perspectives are different. Increasingly, we have teenagers, who are concurrently enrolled in high school, and so I can't begin to imagine, particularly as I was going to say as I walk through a mall, but I haven't done that in like 2 years. As I walk past a group of teenagers, increasingly as I get older, I'm like, I have nothing in common with any of you, which is fine because your world's completely different than it was when I was a teenager long, long ago. Yeah, it's just making me sad thinking about. Like I said, let's just give consideration to the fact that a person's individual life circumstances largely contribute to how they see the world, and it's very unlikely that somebody else in the class has the same sort of background as you do, and that's a good thing because it brings new ideas to the table. Obviously, we want to exclude threatening or intimidating language designed to inhibit or discourage discourse or free expression of opinions. This is a big topic, so it's funny. Before I started teaching this a year ago, again, I had actually taken many years off. When I was working in Tampa, I was actually traveling internationally a lot, doing a lot of long haul international travel. I just didn't have time to teach, so I didn't for many years. And so there was a gap between about 2013 to 2022, where I hadn't taught over this period here, and a lot has changed since then in terms of discourse, particularly in higher education and things that trigger or upset individuals and that sort of thing. So what I'm saying here is, there's a way to disagree, and not do it in a threatening or intimidating way, right? We're all seekers of the truth. I mean, that's why we're pursuing higher education. That's real value of it, right? We want to understand frameworks so that we can better understand kind of how the world works around us here. And so I would say just be empathetic to even those that disagree with you here. And then finally, just make sure the points you're bringing are supported by logic and data or evidence rather than kind of an emotional response. And so I just mentioned that to say that, look, I worked in government for 10 years, and there were a lot of days where I had to leave because I disagreed with something. And I was like, if I interact with anybody, I'm going to tell them to go to, blankety blank. And so I would just leave for the day and come back the next day and feel better, right? That was my way of controlling my emotional response. But more important than anything is to have sort of data behind your arguments and points, even if you're disagreeing with someone. Again, I'm saying this, and that doesn't actually even happen a lot. You guys historically, Wake Tech students that I've encountered have been great about interacting with fellow students. Final point here, I'd say that if you encounter any online communication that's directed to you or another student that you feel represents a harassment or a threat, particularly a threat of violence, do let me know as quickly as possible. Like I said, it's very unlikely, but again, having worked in the corporate world or government world for 20 something years, I've seen, particularly with employees of mine, very innate conversations that sort of blow up rather quickly here. So just reach out to me. It never hurts to do that there. Another statement here. Again, this portion of the syllabus is a lot longer than it used to be when I started teaching. I mentioned before that politics, it's naturally sort of wrought with disagreement. As such, we're going to have conversations. I always like to use the example of discrimination because politics is inherently about discrimination, right? If we're giving more money to support healthcare for the elderly, then we're probably taking money away from, children in schools or something like that. We talk in my international relations class about zero sum game theory, but the idea is, in politics, anything we take, we use for one thing is probably taken from something else. And so it's naturally about discrimination. So a lot of our conversations and discussions and reflections are going to be sort of based on that. This is often going to require you to consider ideas and concepts that might violate your existing belief policies, right? And that's okay, because that's a sign of a sort of well-developed individual. If you can consider conflicting beliefs and the perspectives on that side and evaluate them rationally, then that makes you a good person, sort of a good, thoughtful human being there. So that's what I want to encourage. But refrain from, like I said, any harassing, behavior or anything like that, and try not to get too upset. Like I said, generally doesn't happen. If you do find any material or communication in this course objectionable, you're encouraged to contact the instructor. I'm happy to have a conversation. If it's something that I've said or in a lecture, I'm happy to chat with you about it, and we can sort of come to an agreement, hopefully, about whatever that is. If you further have issues, you can contact the chairperson of the humanities department. There's sort of pathways for you there. Okay, all that being said, I'm exhausted, but let's get back to the course content. So as I mentioned before, this class is broken into course modules. It's designed around, I believe it's 15 weekly modules with 2 weeks set aside for the midterm and the final exams. You will be provided access, generally speaking, each week by Monday morning, you'll have access to that week's module. A module essentially runs, unless I say otherwise, from Monday morning till end of night, 11:59 p.m. on that following Sunday. So module 1 will be available to you. I might open it up on Sunday, it just depends. But generally speaking, it should always be there by Monday. If it's not, I'll post an announcement. If you don't see it on Monday, you don't see an announcement, let me know, because sometimes something gets screwed up. Like I thought I opened something and I didn't. So reach out to me here. This is the reason I do this is to organize this. Look, when I started teaching online back when it was really a thing, and there wasn't really a lot of guidance. And so my idea was, well, I was pretty good teaching in front of a class. So why don't I make my online class to the extent possible the same as a traditional course? And so that's why I organized in this modules. I've taken online courses before where they just dump everything on you and say just finish this in 8 weeks or whatever. And lo and behold, even I end up procrastinating and leaving it all to the end here. So this is designed to encourage you to kind of work things on a weekly basis, give everything ample time, and then kind of move on to the next thing here. So let's talk about what's in these weekly course modules. As I mentioned before, you'll have lecture slides and a video. So there'll be PowerPoint slides, but I'll actually go through them. You'll have a video link there. That'll be me, basically giving you the lecture I would give you if I was in person in the class. Unfortunately, we don't have the dialogue. What I'm missing is you being able to ask questions and sort of push me on things and, be critical because that sort of helps the teaching and learning environment there. But there will be some sort of opportunities for that there. So you'll want to watch that video. Like I said, that counts as your attendance credit too, because I'll give you a code word that you'll submit. Um, there'll also be other videos that I provide from time to time, various links that help sort of explain. A lot of times there's a subject that some fun quirky YouTube video can explain to you better than I can, and in those cases I'll give that to you. You'll have readings. So you have a textbook for this course. The good news is it's free. I've provided the link for you guys there. So it's a digital textbook there, but I'll have assigned textbook readings. But I'll also have other supplemental readings. So I don't lean too heavily on the textbook. It will be required, but I'm not going to just bury you in textbook readings. Look, there's a very simple and easy way to teach a course like this, which is to just dump a bunch of textbook readings and assignments on you and give you a test. It would probably make my wife happier because I would spend less time, teaching and cultivating this course, but I choose not to do this because I think your time is a little bit more valuable than that. So won't be too much emphasis. The things I give you in the textbook will be specifically parsed out to sort of either reiterate things that are a little bit more complicated or to cover subjects that maybe I didn't get to in my slides there. You will have some classroom discussions. I've changed things up a little bit from last semester. So last semester, each week you had an essay and a discussion. I'm actually going to alternate this semester. So every other week you'll have a classroom discussion that we'll engage in. The weeks that we don't have that, you'll have a weekly essay. I'll talk about that here actually momentarily, kind of what the expectations are there. In terms of assignments, this actually, I'm going to edit this before I give you the final. So this actually should be the term paper assignment. You will have a term paper assignment. It's actually going to be comprised of various smaller papers, and it's going to be around a sort of survey that I'll talk about here at the end that we're going to do. So it won't be terribly difficult. Actually, it's pretty easy to do, and it's broken out in parts, and I'll go into more detail about that later. Two examinations in this course, a midterm and a final. The midterm will cover basically everything up through, I think it's weeks 1 through 7. The final exam is not cumulative, so it'll cover everything basically after the midterm exam. The format of that will be usually it's about 30 short answer questions and 30 multiple choice questions, 5 or 6 short answer essay questions. Again, I'll go into much more detail about that later on. I mentioned announcements here. So again, just pay attention to Blackboard for those announcements. So how are you going to be graded? So the attendance will be 15% of your total course grade. And again, that's you submitting that code word on time from the lecture video, showing me that you watched the video there. Classroom discussions. So we'll have, like I said, every other week, a discussion topic. All told, this will constitute 15% of your grade here. The expectation is that you will post one original response in response to whatever question I've posed for you for that week, and then you'll respond to at least one other student's post. Now, these need to be substantive responses. If you come in and say, yes, I agree, submit, you're not going to get full credit for that. So that would probably land you a 1, or if you submit your own but don't reply to another's, that'll give you 1 full credit here. Give me a substantive, thoughtful response to the question, and then response to another student there, and you'll get the 2 points full credit for those. Essay assignments. So these are reflective in nature. Most of the time, there's not going to be a right or wrong answer here, but I'll give a question related to where we are in the course or a topic, and I want you to sort of think through it and give me sort of a well kind of thought out response based on sort of your perspectives or learnings from the course, depending on what it might be there. Again, similar grading rubric. 2 points is full credit if you do that. There's no minimum length requirement for this. I usually tell people 300 to 400 words, which would be about a page double spaced. Is probably around, about right. So what else do I say here? Yeah, I think a couple paragraphs is probably relevant here. So enough to just kind of detail your full thoughts on there. I'll let you know early on if you submit something that I don't think is sufficient enough or you give enough thought to. I'll let you know. I'll mark down the grade and tell you why, so you can make those changes moving forward. I talked about the term paper here. I'll give you more information on that here as we start the course, but that'll be 20% of your final course grade. Something I'm introducing for the first time, this could blow up in my face, but I don't think I mentioned I'm an adjunct faculty member. If you don't know what that is, I do this part-time. So I'm paid very poor. It's almost, I essentially paid like 12 bucks an hour to do this. And nobody would do that for the money. We just do it because we enjoy it here. That being said, I can experiment a little bit more with the course and make modifications and changes just to make it more enjoyable for yourself, but more importantly for me, right? Because again, I'm not getting paid much. One of the things I've introduced this time around is a live session. So we're going to have a few live session options. 5% of your grade will be attending one of those sessions. So they'll be done via Microsoft Teams. I'll give you, a variety of sort of dates and times to choose from. It might be, 3 different dates or times. And if you attend one of those and participate in the discussion, so it won't be too terribly long, but at least gives us the opportunity for some two-way communication there for me to get to know you. One of the things that's challenging for me teaching this course is it's a lot of me talking at you, and I don't get the response necessarily. And particularly now that I work remote, even though I travel for work, I'm lacking in direct human interaction. So it'd be nice to get more of that. So we're gonna give this a shot this semester. And I'll give you those dates later on. I mentioned the exams here. Each one is worth 15%, so 30% of your final course grade. I received some feedback last semester because last semester each of them were worth 20%, and some students commented that was a lot for exams. So I'm trying to change that just to see how things work. Skipping down to, so you see the rubric I've created there. You see the grading structure. What constitutes A, B, C, D, F. Late work policy there. So generally speaking, you'll have a due date. Most of the assignments will be due on, that Sunday at the end of the module by 11:59 p.m. After that time, you will receive a 0 score and let's see, submissions provided depends on the assignment. Basically, there will be, so you can turn most assignments in late for a 20% score reduction there, but there's certain things, and I'll let you know when that's the case, that can't be made up. So technically, the midterm or final examination, you need to take it during the exam period. If you miss that and haven't contacted me, then you would receive a 0 on that, which wouldn't be good for your final grade there. The big thing to take away in this course: communicate. Just reach out to me, even with small things. I'd rather you bring them to my attention just to make sure we're on the same page. Scrolling down, if you have any questions about your grade or disagree with a grade or something, feel free to reach out. This is one of the other nice things about the fact that, so I've got a lot of I got a lot of things going on for me. So I have a full-time career. I teach here. I coach Little League Baseball. I am actually working on my flight instructor rating so I can teach people to fly. I'm on the board of my HOA. Big picture here, the reason I mention these things to say is that my ego is not too terribly tied up in any one of these things. So if you come in and say like, look, I don't necessarily agree with how you graded this, I'm not going to be offended or upset. What I'm going to do is go back and look and say, oh, wow, did I grade this incorrectly? Because it has happened before. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. So feel comfortable to reach out to me about these things. You're not going to offend me sort of at all. One other note I make here, so your official grade, I keep a spreadsheet with all of your grades in it. So it populates in Blackboard, and I take those grades and I record them in my spreadsheet. The challenge I have with Blackboard is that I don't have a lot of visibility into what it's showing you your final course grade is. I know it gives you an aggregate, but based on how the grades are loaded, that could be incorrect. So the grade book that I keep is the final official grade there. This is just a note to say that, you have the rubric there, so you should be able to calculate based on where your grades are, what your grade is, but don't rely on the official Blackboard hard calculation because it can be subject to error there sometimes. Hopefully it's not, but I don't like that system. The final grade will come from the spreadsheet that I have, and I'm always willing to discuss the grade that I've given you. So here you see the course outline in section 4. Like I mentioned, first half, of course, institutions. You'll see the subjects we'll go through there. Second half is behavior. Week 8, the midterm exam will be that week of February 27th, and I'll talk to you well ahead of time before that about the expectations. And then you see the final exam is that first week in May there. The final point under step 5 there is that we've reviewed this syllabus. Think of this as this is essentially a contract for your continued enrollment in the course. And so, continuing to enroll in the class means that you agree to kind of the stipulations that that we lay out here, to saying that, looks good. I'd like to continue in the course here. So let me try and stop sharing here. There you go. You get me back. So what do I do next here? A couple of things. Hopefully you found this getting started folder, and this is where you have found the video. A couple things for you to do. First and foremost, take that course entry quiz. This is very serious as far as the institution is concerned, that this is basically week 1 attendance. And so if you don't take that course entry quiz by the deadline, basically the college considers you to have not shown up. And I know that can impact some people's financial standing and other things. So just take that. I would say, after this video is done, just go take that course entry quiz there. A couple things I have for you there. Code word. So you want to get credit for having sat and listened to me speak for, how long has this been going on now? Pretty long. The timer has gone away, so I don't know how long it's been going. Anyways, you want to get credit for this, so I need to give you a code word, and I'm gonna look around my desk. It's gonna be something asinine and not related to anything just about each time. And so for some reason, I have a Chick-fil-A sauce packet on my desk. So Chick-fil-A is going to be your code word. Submit that in the proper assignment, which you'll see in the getting started folder, Chick-fil-A, and you'll get credit for that. Which is weird because I haven't eaten Chick-fil-A in like 2 months at least. So why do I have the sauce on my desk? Who knows? So provide that code word there. Survey. So related to the term paper, we're actually going to use data from a short political survey that we're going to take. What I want you to do is start off by taking that survey, and I'll actually give you assignment credit for doing it, because I'll give you a code word there that you can submit as well. This is a entirely anonymous survey. I can't see your responses. It's political opinions, because we're going to use the data in this research project that we're going to do over the course of the semester. But I won't see that, Tim Smith really hates Joe Biden, for instance. And not that I, care. This course isn't about your opinions. It's about giving you the knowledge to formulate opinions. But I won't be able to see what Tim Smith says anyways. I just want you to complete the survey. This survey, in fact, I'll have some more information about that. We'll want to distribute it to your friends and people we know too, to collect more data, so it'll make our research papers a little bit better. So go ahead and just take a couple minutes to take that survey. And then just know that, this is, I'm unloading this on Thursday when the course starts. Week 1 module will kick off next Monday. And so use this time to, I do these couple of things here. Hopefully, obviously watching this video, which congratulations, you've almost made it to the end. And then week 1 will actually start with the course material on Monday. I may open it on Sunday. We'll see, but just keep checking back there. So that's it. That's what we got going on here. Hope you enjoy the course. Like I said, feel free to reach out to me. Oh, the other thing I always do an opening discussion that's getting to know you. So share a little bit of information about yourself. That helps me, because I actually occasionally run into people that have interests or passions that I have some resources or connection to. That I can sort of help them with. It's actually usually twice a semester, or so. I'm able to help somebody in some sort of way, shape or fashion in that way. So so a little bit of information about yourself. You can see the list of things you need to do. I may be leaving something off, but cover all those things, and then get ready to get started on Monday here. So thanks so much for your time. Looking forward to this, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.